Hey guys, welcome to our SoulFam Podcast, where I interview space holders from all over the world. I'm your host, my name is Karolina, and I'm the Love and Connection Coach. Today on the show, we have Loto Vazquez, a former monk, philanthropist, a published author, speaker, investor, and a mentor for conscious leaders. Welcome to the show, Loto. How are you doing?
Thank you very much. I'm super happy to be here with you and with everyone listening to this right now. Um, I'm feeling a bit nervous, which is funny because I've been doing this somehow for 23 years and I still, no, 17, sorry, 17 years since I was 23, and I still feel this nervousness, and I think it's pretty cute. So I'm happy to be here and honored, and I'm gonna give my absolute best. So this is insanely valuable, or as much as possible.
Amazing. Yes, it is pretty cute. But we can get nervous every single time that we're doing something. Like, for example, before my plant medicine experience, every time I'm nervous, and I've done it so many times, and I'm guiding these ceremonies for people. But anyway, if you don't know where it's going to bring you, sometimes you can get nervous, and it's normal. So, yeah, it is cute. I can give you that for sure. So I'd love to start this conversation with a pretty important topic, I feel, that came to my mind when I was thinking what I would love to ask you. That is the top three challenges, or five, however you wish, but at least top three challenges that conscious leaders face. And also maybe you can give some ideas about how to solve them, because there's so many conscious leaders right now, and they might be a little bit sometimes either confused or not fully feeling their path, or maybe they can be having specific fears or specific resistance within themselves. And so, as you are an expert and mentor for these kind of people, I would love to know your perspective on it.
I think it's a super powerful question, and it's actually the first time I'm going to answer this, so it's going to be coming out like right now as I'm speaking. There is already two in my mind. I'm sure the third or fourth will come along, but the first one that comes is actually most conscious leaders, most humans that are really, really deep into consciousness. I will say over 90%, and I say this because when I was a monk for over a decade, my take is that 99% of us haven't fully found a way to be centered and be in presence, be in fullness all the time. I rephrase this. I think almost everyone deeply in personal and spiritual growth still haven't figured out a way to really feel in presence, in contentment, in connection with themselves, and from there with the world every time they want. It's like most of us have a way that works almost all the time, but it still doesn't work all the time. And I believe if a system doesn't work all the time, it actually doesn't fully work. And I'm not saying we need to agree in anything. This is only my take. It's the most powerful, valuable thing that I can share. But I think once we realize, okay, that's my truth. I still, like I was just a few years ago when I was still a monk, and I realized after a decade of being a monk, and I couldn't think of something more radical than being a monk to really go deep into my own self and my freedom and my self-love, I still was suffering once in a while. And then reflecting, I realized, and maybe we'll talk later about that, but my take was, wow, when I feel stuck, when I feel I cannot deal with my own pain, when I feel I cannot get out of the labyrinth of my mind, is because I am afraid. It's because I know what I need to do, but I don't have the inner strength or the inner self-love to actually do or say what I feel is the right thing to do or say. And then I will get into my own mind and my own self-judgment, and from there I will get into suffering. And then I had this idea, wow, if I conquer fear, then I will be free. Maybe not as free as Eckhart Tolle or Muji or whoever is our superhero, but free to be freer right now, free to enlighten myself more right now, free to love myself more right now with no exceptions. So I think that's number one challenge, or one of the main ones. We know a way that is super effective, but most of us haven't figured out a way that works always. And there is a massive difference knowing that we are completely free or that we are free most of the time. And still we are afraid once in a while is going to come this challenge that we haven't figured how to overcome.
And how do you define freedom in this specific case? Because I'm curious about this perspective, because to me, maybe freedom means something completely else than for you.
Totally, I understand. So I will describe freedom as knowing that I can deal with anything without stop being completely loyal to myself. Or in other words, I am free if I know I can deal with whatever life throws at me, whether from inside of me, whether it's trauma, whether it's extreme joy, whether it's a lot of excitement because there is a huge opportunity in front of me that it's out of my known zone, and also the challenges from outside, whether, again, opportunities or challenges, whether it's in love, in relationships, in business, in family, in health, that I really know I can deal with everything without losing presence or without falling into the belief that I can't deal with that from presence or from love or from centeredness.
I understand. Well, so that's the first challenge. It's pretty interesting to me, because I feel like from my approach, as I am not a former monk, so I might have a completely different perspective, but to me, it feels like even though the emotions can come and they can take us in many different directions, we might still have this overarching perspective every time present within us that these emotions are nothing bad. And to me, what freedom is to actually, every time, even if I'm going through something very, very deeply shitty and like negative and not pleasant at all, to me, freedom is to be able to have the presence, as you say, but also the other perspective at the same time, simultaneously, as I'm going through the deep trauma experience or whatever it is. At the same time, I can feel that consciousness behind it, so I can be an observer of that happening, and I can be in that happening at the same time. So if I am triggered by someone, let's say, I don't know, my abandonment wound is triggered by my partner, let's say, right? So I can be super sad and at the same time know that, but thanks to the fact that I'm sad right now, I'm healing and it's actually serving me, and I can allow this feeling and accept it. And to me, freedom is that, is having this knowing in every situation, because traumas are going to come, challenges are going to come, like we are human, they are going to be on our path. So like, to me, freedom means to be actually okay with it and to accept it, because when we accept the trauma or accept the negative emotion or accept the uncomfortability, we can transform it faster. And that's freedom to me, to have this kind of peaceful perspective even towards the most challenging situations. So that's how I see it, and I'm curious about your perspective on what I just said.
I think we agree. That's it. So for me, I wasn't free when I was able to do that most of the time, but when it got really, really tough, I just didn't realize I had enough strength or enough skill to deal with that situation, without losing presence, without losing self-love, without losing the awareness that everything is okay, even if it's really tough. So, for example, my mom will trigger that in me super often. In the past, even in the present, she's one of the masterful ninjas that can trigger me. Or for example, recently I fell in love, or I experienced love in such a deep, extreme way that was bringing up the parts of me that didn't feel deserveful of that. And in the past, I will get hooked into my own judgment when it got really, really tough or really, really contracted inside of me. So no, I think we totally agree.
And so how do you deal with this specific challenge for conscious leaders? How would you mentor them? What would you say to them if they struggle with this specific thing?
Okay, I'm aware I have said only one key challenge, but okay, the other two will be, one more will be, and then I go with how do I solve it. The other one, it came really clear for me working with another mentor, business mentor, really beautiful, really centered, really free guy. And through watching him, I realized how separated was still in my brain and in my approach, how much I explore presence in almost everything in my life. But when it came to business, it's like I got really mainstream in a way, like really normal, really status quo world, like really, I'm just gonna do whatever it takes, even if that takes to forget that love is the most important thing right now and always, or that presence is the most important thing right now and always, or freedom is the most important thing. So I think many of us are like, we have some spaces where we engage in the idea that right now this is more important than presence. There is this powerful sentence by Stillness Speaks, this book by Eckhart Tolle, that says, there is many things important, but there is only one that is absolutely important. And of course, when we can have both, when I can have the amazing sex and the peace or the presence or the love and the freedom, great. But when I need to choose to be present or to have access to that sex, my priority needs to be really clear. Or with a sale, maybe when the sale is compatible with being really in presence and in integrity, of course I want both. But when I need to choose between integrity, presence, freedom, or that sale, fuck that sale. And I think many leaders, because we are so committed to our drive and to our mission and to our idea of what we are here to do, and to our teams possibly, and to our customers and our communities, we tend to sometimes prioritize making it happen versus staying, being the change that we want to see in the world, where every time we forget that, we are really screwing our mission because we are not in integrity with what we want to create. Or at least that's my take and my experience. So that would be the second biggest challenge. But then we can go to how to solve at least all of them, or at least one of them. Yeah.
Perfect. So what's the third one?
The third one is still not in my mind. So what has been my own biggest challenge as a conscious leader? Okay, the one that comes straight away, I'm sure there is more, but it's understanding how fucking simple it is to manifest whatever we want. Is to really let go this Elon Musk idea. And I'm really inspired by him in many ways, but really let go this Elon Musk or this uncentered masculine approach of, and really Capricorn, I'm a Capricorn, and I can work 18 hours a day. And it's cool to know that you can do that if it's necessary. But my perception more and more is that that's not really the world that I want to create for humanity. And that world is not sexy enough, attractive enough collectively to really be embraced by the masses, and therefore really create a change in the status quo so we can all of us live in heaven. And that experience that we have access to as conscious leaders to feel like we are in paradise become the new status quo. So I think many of us are still like, I'm willing to do whatever it takes. Again, instead of, no, you just need to feel that what you want is already real inside of you, and then work on your traumas or all your intellectual and emotional resistance to allow that feeling to be constant, or be the feeling that you go to every time you connect with that business opportunity, with that investor, with that relationship, wherever we want. We just need to feel we have it, remove the resistance. And actually, I went to one of your workshops recently, and you were actually explaining the same formula with maybe the slightly different words, but almost the same. And it's done. It's happening. It's a guaranteed thing that is going to happen. It's just that sometimes there is more inertia. No, I'm willing to work 18 hours a day or 12 or 10 for a year and still not achieve it often. Instead of, no, just do the inner work. Feel it that it's already done. Of course, I'm still going to work, and I'm going to have meetings, and I'm going to delegate in my team. But it's already done. And I think it's challenging to let go of the hard-working defense mechanism, protecting our ego from feeling safe, because it makes sense that it's going to happen more if I work too hard, instead of really align and see how the universe is doing all the work.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I also feel that I want to add to this that a lot of people who have been working hard for years, because, they might be high achievers, they might be leaders, so they want to do so much. If they actually let go of doing so much, they might feel like all this time that they have spent working so hard is wasted in a way. Like they have to let go of their identity and shift and change in order to accept that, hey, I can actually manifest it easier. And that's a hard part, because that sometimes might make me feel like I just threw away 5 years of my life, but I was working 14 hours a day to achieve my goal. And now I'm going to work 4 hours a day, or I don't know, whatever the time is. So it's kind of like I wasted, so many years of my life just doing things that actually were not super productive from the energy perspective or manifestation perspective. And I think that can be a very, very hard nut to break, or however you say it in English, or hard pill to swallow, because it's like, yeah, it's like this loss, this grief of the time that you already put into something and then it didn't work, or didn't bring you the results that you want, is painful. And I feel like you need to be able and willing to accept this pain if you shift your perspective and want to manifest with less resistance and just less time and action put into what you do. Because the thing is that if we remove resistance, as you said, things synchronicity flow into our life. We meet people, we are suddenly somewhere in the circumstances that things are happening. But that's like defying all the high achiever mindset of like just working so hard. Of course, the underlying feeling like you're just not worthy if you don't achieve more. And just you need to deal with all of these emotions before you actually are peaceful with this new, let's say, paradigm of work. So I feel like that's a big theme as well, to just look at. And I'm curious to know if you agree.
I do. To be honest, my experience on doing this shift is quite recent. I'm just blown away with how much is happening precisely doing less. And yeah, my ego doesn't like it, but no, it doesn't. No.
That's funny.
But that's the cool thing of working only with conscious leaders, is that we are at least in our conscious intention willing to dissolve the ego for the highest good. And yeah, the ego is gonna complain and resist every time we go out of our known zone, and we all know that. And it's even I don't know if healthy, but yeah, even a healthy job of the ego to prioritize survival. But we are not here to survive, we are here to thrive. And therefore we need to let go of the old paradigm that it's now limiting us. The other thing that helps me with this perspective is understanding that only because I've been through that, I can be compassionate, not feel pity, but feel empathy and understanding with people who are going through what I've been going through. And so nothing is ever wasted, because from the pain, the wisdom comes. I'm not saying suffering, I think suffering is unnecessary. If I don't judge myself from my pain, I don't suffer. I'm just experiencing pain. Like if I'm working out but I want to work out, I'm not suffering. I'm there in the battle and I'm enjoying it, and it's powerful and intense and alive. So I don't need to judge myself, but I do need to experience the pain, the friction that shapes me to really become wiser and more have a wider perspective and connect deeper with others, because I can see them, because I've seen myself in the depth. So
Yeah, that's a beautiful perspective to have. And always these experiences that are hard for us are actually a hidden jewel, and they actually become our biggest strength. Like in my case, I have abandonment wound, so I'm a very connected person, and I want to teach people how to connect because of this wound. And if it wasn't for that, I would not be so focused on love and connection, right? So it's actually for me that it happened. And I chose this path as the soul entering this body, choosing this family with these situations to actually shape me for who I am. And it's the same with being a high achiever, being a leader. You chose it for a reason, for sure. So yeah, this is a beautiful perspective to have. And so let's rewire back to this solution, right? So we talked about the challenges. So now how to deal with all these challenges that we were talking about.
So I'm going to do my best to tap into the main things, and at the same time, as people invited into this space, I have a gift, which is either connecting with me and telling me that you come from this podcast in my social media, or going to lotovazquez.com/FHM gift. FHM comes from Fear Hacking Method, which is the name that I've given to putting together everything that I've learned in 24 years of personal growth with myself, and 17 years accompanying a few thousand beautiful conscious leaders during these years. And so there is a couple of things that are key. First, we need a practice that it works always. Not almost always, but always. That we know in our mind, maybe at some point something is going to be tough, for sure. Life is going to find a way to squeeze us and to take more juice out of us, and it's going to be tough maybe, but we know we have tools that will work. We are not like hoping that will work. We know it will work. So there is a part of us that is like, maybe I don't feel like facing this, but I know, I totally know I can face it. Eyes open, eyes closed, external challenge, internal challenge. Really, all the challenges are internal, but seemingly coming from outside or from inside, coming from relationships, coming from business, from team, from wherever. We need to have that. And those tools are available. And if you listening to this have already found the tools, awesome, and please share them with as many people as possible. And if you haven't, ask us, or ask someone that you trust, but find something that then you can be like, okay, check, now I'm safe. I will be safe forever because I have a toolbox that works in every single situation. And I think we all deserve that, and everyone in humanity deserves that, and it's already available. So that's one thing. Then something that I think is extremely powerful is to ask ourselves every day, which percentage of my day I have spent being the change that I want to see in the world, really feeling fucking outstanding, like really feeling fulfilled, not okay, not better than others, not comparing to others, comparing to yourself. Do you have, how much during these last 24 hours have I felt outstanding, completely aligned with the life that I truly want for myself and for others? And whatever is the answer, even if it's a tough answer because it's like 1% or 12% or whatever, just the next question is, what can I do today in the next 24 hours to increase that percentage? And those questions, that daily review has completely changed my experience of life and my experience of my toolbox. I already had a toolbox that worked all the time, but without that review, I were missing out in such a big percentage of really being the change that I want to see and feeling great and feeling that I'm living in paradise, which is what I want. And with those words or others, which I believe every human wants.
Wow, that's such a powerful question to ask yourself. And that boils down to awareness and consciousness again, right? Because if you're not aware, if you're not asking yourself, if you're not questioning your life or yourself at all, then you don't even have the answers coming up. But if you ask yourself actually these questions, it's like, okay, how aligned am I right now? How fulfilled am I right now? Then the answer will come. And sometimes you might be surprised because subconsciously, when you ask these questions, usually also it's your subconscious mind that is free to answer these questions, right? Because in your conscious mind, we don't really focus on these things. But when we can sit in meditation or just, peace, make our mind peaceful so that we can clearly see what we are actually experiencing, what we are sensing, then these questions can totally change our life. And I love to add one more question that one of my mentors is talking about very much and very often. She says to ask yourself, what would someone who loves themselves do? In any situation that you cannot make a decision or you don't know what to do, if you just ask, okay, like if I loved myself, like what would someone who really loves themselves do? And then you can really step from the place of the heart into the situation and decide from a place of your heart, not place of your mind. And that's what we are also trying to do here, or not trying, we are doing. We are becoming more and more aligned with our heart path, with our mission, with our fulfillment, because that's what it is. If we ask about alignment, about fulfillment, that's the alignment to ourselves, our essence, our heart. And so I absolutely love these questions. They are so cool. I'm going to try it out and then tell you how I go with this.
That's amazing. And exactly, I sorry, you go.
You go.
Okay. I invite everyone to explore this. Actually, when I'm working with people, whether one-on-one or mostly in groups, that's what I do, is just accompanying them to build this habit. Science so far says that 254 days is the maximum that it takes to build a habit. So in 254 days, which is 9 months almost exactly or less, anyone can build a habit to live most of your day feeling in heaven or feeling in paradise or feeling fulfilled or feeling completely aligned most of your day. When you live most of your day aligned with what you want happens inevitably. When I spend 30% of my day or 20 or 10 or 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes in the evening aligned with what I truly want, and the rest of my day not fully aligned, then it's impossible that the life that I want is going to truly happen. It's impossible because the majority of my day I'm aligned with my past. I'm aligned with my patterns coming from the past. And I'll talk about that in a moment because it's so important. And it's been mentioned already about trauma and the key part that this plays. So if you do this for 254 days or less, whether with support, we always have support anyway, or whether on your own, you'll be anyway supported by the whole universe, whether you like it or not. You can build that habit, and then you crush it for the rest of your life inevitably, because that's an automatism that now it's built in you. Now that includes dealing with the past, dealing with the trauma, dealing with these blockages inside that we all have. Everyone, no exception, at least in my experience and perception, even the most enlightened humans that I have met, we all have them. So something that has been really powerful for me is to understand that everything that we improve is by paying more attention, having a more clear intention, and taking more aligned action. It doesn't matter if it's our nutrition, our workout, our sex life, our relationship with our mom, our relationship with our team, with our business, the investors. We are paying more attention to something that is important to us. We are getting more clear in what is really our intention in that aspect of our life, and we are taking more aligned action. And with that, we improve anything. And now we can bring that also to deal with our trauma. So, for example, I think it's a bit cheesy, but I really connected so deeply with a woman recently that I felt like never in 40 years I have had such a connection with anyone. And it was mind-blowing. After 40 years, I've had many experiences, and I've been deeply in love with my ex-wife and with some of my partners, all of them in a way, but with some really intensely. But this was like a completely new level. And I guess it's because I was ready. I was aligned enough. I was loving enough myself. But that also triggered deeper fears than ever before. Deeper fears than ever before, to be rejected, to not be enough, to screw it up, to all these little nice friends that are there to push me to be freer were coming up. And when I can pay more attention to what's more alive for me right now, this is my practice, just being attentive to the most intense or alive sensation right now. As a first action, and if you want, you can do this along with me right now. You listening to this, I expand my physiology like a baby, because we were born like that for a reason, and we were the happiest as babies and the faster learners as babies, and then we copy too much the adults that are fucked up in the insane majority, and that's how we live, less efficient than we could. So expanding our physiology, our posture, our breathing, our jaw, our chest looking towards the sky like babies, and then as a first intention, that this energy or sensation that I am feeling inside of my body, and this consciousness or attention aware of it, expands as much as possible inside and beyond my body, and inside and beyond my world. And when this is enough to feel outstanding, which for me is the majority of the time, and the more I practice, the easier and sweeter it gets, awesome, I can just keep doing it my whole day. But when I do this and I still feel this friction, this contraction, this like, I don't like this, it's because there is something from my past, not really my past, but the tension recorded when my past was the present, and that I didn't knew how to digest and handle and understand. So I just storage it for another moment, and it still hasn't been reviewed and resolved. So now, just having the intention to go to that experience of the past, the intention always happens. Zero exceptions. It's just that we tend to run away or feel that we can't before it happens. But if I have my intention for that memory to come, it always comes. And then I can just do the same, be attentive to the most intense sensation in that memory, expand my physiology, have the intention for this to expand. And when it expands, it doesn't expand the negative feeling. When it expands, the vibration of that same energy expands, and now it's higher vibration. So it's like water. It can be ice, super contracted, liquid, or steam. So my energy can be also pain and fear, and that's solid or really contracted, but it can expand and expand and expand until it becomes like steam, like joy and clarity and inspiration. It's the same energy, it's not a different one. So when I expand my energy, it becomes fuel to fuel my dreams, to fuel my drive, to fuel my connection, to fuel my well-being, my health, everything in my life. And that's all I do, really. I'm sure there is a few more nuances. For sure, the depth and the treasure comes with the practice and how much depth that can bring. But with that, I'm unstoppable, and every one of my students become unstoppable in 254 days or less.
Mm, that's amazing. And I would love to add to it when people, because sometimes people come to me also for sessions with inner child trauma work and stuff, and they're like, I can't remember anything. But as you said, it's like if you have an intention to remember, you can. And especially when you are able to feel this feeling to the maximum level, like absolute maximum, become this feeling, like literally become the part of you that felt it for the first time. And you just keep asking this question, when was the first time I felt this way? The very first time of this feeling. Or you can even ask the feeling, when was the first time I felt you, like directly to the feeling? At some point, even if it takes 10, 15, 20 minutes, and with some people it takes a long time before they can actually feel it to the maximum level, at some point the memory will come. And it might not be visual, it might be just the sensation, just the feeling. But the feeling is the most important, because the feeling is what we need to reprogram, right? So even if you make the memory up, it doesn't matter, because if you can heal, if you can reprogram the feeling through remembering something random or something that didn't even happen, which is not really the case usually, but even if someone has the fear of like, oh, is it really my memory or not? Even if it's not, if you can actually heal thanks to that, then it doesn't matter. And so just being present with the feeling, that's what guides our subconscious mind, because our subconscious mind is our instinct, is our body. So if we can connect to our body and to the feeling, and then from time to time ask without thinking about anything, when was the first time I felt this way, and just keep asking it, connecting to the body and to the feeling, then without exceptions, as you said, the memory will come up, even if it's vague, even if it's only a sensation, like I sense that my father shouts at me, or I sense that I'm at school and something is happening, whatever it is, it will come. So I just wanted to add this to the trauma work, because I've done a lot of these with the clients and with myself. And every single time, if we are guided correctly and if we actually stay present with our emotion, the memory will come up, even if it's something that we never ever thought of and we never consciously remembered. So yeah, it's amazing that you're saying that also intention is everything and it will always come, because that's what my experience as well. So I'd love to also talk a little bit about your story, because I know that you are a monk, and so based on all your experience and what you have learned and what the inner work you've done, you developed your fear hacking method. So I would love if you can share some of your story, the one that flows right now. Probably it's a long story, but just in a nutshell, to pinpoint the most important things that have happened, the most important shifts in your consciousness maybe that have happened, and most important understandings on your path, and then how it led you to develop this method. And maybe you could also expand on the method itself as well. But let's start with the story, because that's really, really interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love what you said about the relationship with allowing the trauma to come up, because it is my experience as well. It's really aligned what you are saying with what I've been experiencing with myself and my clients. And it is so important to realize how simple it can be to heal trauma. Something that I'm noticing is that also we don't need to solve the trauma in one go. It's like sometimes like, oh, now I need to feel everything until it's done. And in my experience, almost never happens that it's done in one go. But once I went to that memory, it's easier forever to let my attention go to that memory and heal one more piece and heal one more piece. And so I become free. I'm not, maybe it hasn't dissolved completely, but maybe I don't need it neither. I just need it to dissolve enough so I can continue from centeredness, being loyal to myself in this relationship with this potential investor, with this team partner, etc. Being said that, how is that related to my story as well? So when I was 13, I'm gonna do the nutshell as well as I can, but when I was 13 until I was 16, I had my first human crisis. I want to mention this because I think every human has a crisis when we are in the teenage. And it's just that most humans force their way through, we become adults, and then once we are 25 or 35 or 40 or whatever, or 80, we are like, shit, I haven't heal myself. I haven't learned to love myself. I've just tried to adapt to this society. I even became successful adapting to this society, but I never say, screw society. I'm gonna truly listen to myself, truly be loyal to myself, and I'm gonna influence society from this pure, deep, strong, solid self-love. I was lucky, or maybe just different experience, that I had that crisis and I had the environment that allowed me to start my awakening and my spiritual journey when I was 16. After taking drugs and selling drugs and doing all the things that weren't really helping me at that time to be freer, I had this first awakening experience where I realized, wow, this experience of fullness, of presence, it was normal when I was a kid. Nothing has changed outside, but now I feel fulfilled in spite of what is going on outside. Maybe if I become really stubborn, I can master this. And if I find a way, I'm going to share it with as many people as possible. And that was 24 years ago. And I've been doing that in one way or another every day since then. And there is this powerful sentence that says, there is the most important moments in our lives is when we are born. And the second is when we remember why we are born. What is our purpose? And I think that's one glimpse away. We all can connect with that. It's more about boldness than about so much skyrocket science. So it's more about realizing we are here all to support others realize themselves. I believe that's the mission of everyone. It's just we do it with different flavors, but we are here to have the greatest, most beautiful, loving impact in the world. All of us, no exception, with different flavors and approaches. That led me to read everything, practice everything that came my way, just like a pure seeker. I read books and did seminars and therapies and became vegetarian and did yoga and Tai Chi. And when I was 22, 6 years later, I was like, okay, I'm fed up with seeking. I actually studied philosophy in college out of that seeking process. And it was amazing. What an amazing thing to do in university. What a crazy bunch of amazing explorers my companions were. But when I was 22, I was like, I don't want to be a lover of wisdom, which is the meaning of philosophy. I want to marry wisdom. I want to really embody it, integrate it. And then I found a practice of meditation that it seemed that it worked all the time, that it was so simple and so effective that I could come back to presence and fulfillment all the time. That's what I thought. And I discovered it was almost all the time after a decade. So for some years, it was so amazing to have so much room to feel with my presence and to bring that to my relationships and to bring that to other people and teach thousands of people to meditate or to explore fulfillment in a simple way and to travel the world teaching. But when I was for a decade, as I shared at the beginning, I realized, well, I'm not as free as I wanted to be. And looking around, 99% or so of my companions, neither are as free as they want to be. So maybe this strategy doesn't fully work, at least not for me. Then I realized fear was stopping me. I think many things slow us down, and it's part of life, have different rhythms in different moments, like a river. It's unstoppable, but it has different speeds in different moments. But I think fear is the only thing that stops us. And the only thing in nature that is stopped is humans, because we are so powerful that we can make the unreal become so real. We can make a story in our mind feel more real than the insane, endless love that everything is made of, in my experience, in my perspective. And so I dedicated the next few months to face fear with the idea that if I conquer fear, then I will be really free. And it happened. In a few months, I discovered, oh, if I face fear, it always disappears, it always dissolves, it always transmutes into more energy, into more certainty, into more security, into more knowingness that I can deal with anything. And then I started sharing with my clients, and the more I share it, the more I polish it, until now I know anyone can master this in 254 days or less if they really have as a priority, as a number one priority, to live in presence every time they want, with no exception. Yeah, I think that's a summary. Yeah.
Beautiful. And so I'm curious about the method of meditation that you've practiced before, that you mentioned. Was it more like like a satsang, like, Muji, or was it more like some breathing, or was it more like presence? Like, what kind of meditation did you practice for a decade?
Mm-hmm. I actually practiced it for 15 years, I think, like 2 years before, and then I was a monk for 12 years. Although the last 2 years I was already like following myself more than following my guru. I think that's one thing powerful that I want to share as well. I think having a guru, I think it's fucked up. And I don't expect anyone to agree with me, but I think there is value in my perspective, even if you disagree. I think the only guru is the only guru, which is everything that exists, and it's you. And really, any guru will say that that's the only guru. But many gurus, even if they say that's the only guru, they slightly become too interested in being the guru. And that's their ego. And when someone is really enlightened and at the same time really subtly building an empire around his or her ego, it's really tricky. And I've seen that several times with myself and with others. And I think the only way to be truly free is to listen and follow yourself. And that may be scary because it's uncomfortable, because it's taking the full fucking responsibility. But there is no full fucking freedom without full fucking responsibility. So if you want to depend on others, go ahead, it's your choice. But if you want to be fully free, I believe you need to fully own the full responsibility. And I know you know that, or at least most of us. But I think it's powerful because it took me a decade to realize I was trusting more someone else than myself. And that was leading me out of freedom instead of into more freedom. And the tricky part is that at the beginning, following this inspiring human being that was so enlightened was giving me more freedom. But at some point, I confused using his inspiration to discover more freedom with more speed into stop listening to my own intuition and discernment and following his. That's when I got diverted. The practice of meditation was super effective. It was Advaita Vedanta, so basically just being attentive, which is the essence of most meditations. What I have found is that if you are only exploring attention without also exploring intention and with also exploring action, then you don't have a solid enough foundation to really have a fully effective practice no matter what life throws at you. But if you are really masterful and mastering attention and really masterful and mastering intention and really masterful and mastering action, then you can deal with anything and actually with quite some simplicity and feel like a superhero because you've always been, and we are just awakening more to that reality.
Wow, that's so beautiful. Thank you for these amazing words. And so, just to wrap it up, I would love to know where people can find more information about you and about the fear hacking method. If you want to say a few words about that for closing, because I'm sure a lot of people would resonate with your energy and would like to go on a deeper journey with you. So, I would love you to share.
Thank you so much. Um, so lotovazquez.com/FHM from Fear Hacking Method, gift. Well, lotovazquez.com/FHM gift. And that's a way to receive a gift. Actually, a gift valued at 1,111 euros. And I know that's a lot, but that's my honest perspective on the value of that session. And of course, you can find me in any social media under @Loto Vazquez, all of them. But yeah, if you really want to explore more with no commitment to anything, just to receive and see how it feels in your body, to apply this into specific issues and challenges that you are experiencing right now, whether in business or in your personal life, which are really, really connected. If our personal life is thriving, it's really difficult to not thrive in business. And if we truly thrive in business, it's really difficult to not bring that into our personal life. So it will be an honor to serve you if you really resonate with this. And I'm super glad that we share this space, that even if you took one one idea, one insight, and you bring it into practice, it can change our whole lives. I'm super honored to be here. Please share with other people. Sometimes there is people that need it more than you. And if you share it with someone else, that can change their life. Maybe it's even more useful for them than for you. So if you resonate with sharing it, please do so. It's so, so important. So we are in this together, raising consciousness and making, for me, everyone aware that we actually live in paradise. And if we treat the planet and each other like that, maybe we can experience it with more ease and abundance, all of us.
So beautiful. Thank you so much for all these words. And I'm really keeping my fingers crossed that that's how we can live a paradise on earth, because this is what it is. So thank you so much, Loto, for this beautiful, beautiful conversation and amazing words. I'm very grateful that we got to sit together today and record this. And yeah, sending you so much love and gratitude for this episode. It's been great.
Thank you so much, Karolina. Thank you, all of you. Thank you.